Sweet. All right, Stella's coming in. Hello, everybody. Hello. This class is so big. I love it. Sebastian, good to see you. Nico. Oh, Kristen's in the house too. She must be taking attendance. That's that word. Mr. Messick, you're flashing. What's that about? Is it your camera adjusting to the light? Or is it your magnetic personality that's just like throwing it off?
I don't know. It was just flashing.
Oh.
And I look really bright. It's not that bright.
You do. It looks like you're on like like close to heaven, like on the edge of heaven. You're just like, if you just like lean back in your chair, you'll just like pass into the spiritual beyond. Oh my gosh, I'm acting weird today. Maybe it's because I drew a rose. They're so beautiful. All right, I gotta get a freshie though. Oh, I did glass blowing. That's the main brag. That's my main brag of the day. I went to this place called McFadden's. I think it was McFadden's glass blowing on Eastern Avenue. I mean, they basically do everything for you. I recommend everyone do it because you can't, like glass blowing, you have to like blow a hole or like blow a bubble. And because of the heat, you block the end of the pole. Because the pole is hot, the heat has to try to escape. So it escapes through like the molten glass. And then it starts to open up and you can make like a bulb for a Christmas tree or a bowl. And you can't even blow into it because of COVID. So you just like, they do basically everything for you, but they show you how to do everything and you kind of actively participate, but it's really more just an excuse to go and be close to the glass blowing. So if you have any, like, if you're like nervous about it, I was nervous when I went in because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to like shoot molten glass through my eye. And if I don't have my eyes, I have nothing. So I was a little nervous. And it wound up being like so fun and easy, and the people were super nice, and they're like super artsy hipster, you know, because they're like around heating like hot stoves, and you know they got like, you know, industrial work clothes on. So I fit in. I didn't wear my purple shirt though, my purple short sleeve shirt, because the weather's amazing. All right, sorry guys. Let's see which one we should do. You want to do one that's kind of opened or kind of closed or right in the middle? Anybody? Bueller? I'm just going to pick, I think, what I would consider a perfect. Oh my God, that's really good. Yeah, that's the one. Okay. So there, I put these in water. So I snip them so they leave the bouquet, but they still they still survive because I put them in water and they just exist in another plane, which is where now I can't find my cup. Okay, I'll put this one. You guys are gonna get the best the best of me, because I taught this to the adults, and I've taught flowers, you know, a million times, but I've never taught I just haven't taught it recently, and I figured out a whole lot about how to draw a rose. Do you want to see my drawing from earlier so you can get an anticipation? So that was the rose we did earlier. And the nice thing about these is that it was kind of like some of the stuff we did last week. Well, maybe not last week, but you learn to draw. Once you learn to draw something, you can then like memorize it, and then you can invent and you draw it over and over again from your memory, and then it slowly like morphs into something else, and then it's a rose, but then it's your version of the rose, and then it's just like it's completely like it really becomes original, and then it's almost like a new flower. It's almost like if you were combined yourself and your soul with a flower. That's what it is. The first time I realized that was with an artist. He's from Baltimore, and he wound up like he makes millions of dollars every year. He's really famous within like kind of like the rap scene from Baltimore, and he did this rose, and I'll see if I can find it. He does these two signature drawings. One is a rose, and then the other is a zombie fish. So it looks like a fish, but it's got X's in the eyes. It's that simple. Those were his signature pieces. And he goes around, he puts it on people's suits, he puts it on people's cars, he tattoos it on like people's backs, like the hood of the car. And then and his main thing is he puts it on Timberlands. So he has like these boots, and then he gets like over $1,000 per pair of per boot. And then he like can do them so fast because it's his own signature. And I was like, man, that is awesome. I was like, I can draw everything in the world. All he needs to do is two things: a zombie fish and a rose. And he just like crushes it. And he's got, again, it's like, it's not a rose, it's him, his style mixed with a rose. And, he made it work. He like, people love it. Like the people that love it, they love it. This is going to be a little bit more representational. Stace, how are you doing? Are you down? Are you down to work on the rose, Han?
I am so excited to be doing this, Rose. I can, yes.
The short answer is yes. Good.
Yes.
This is my rose holder. It looks, no one's gonna see that. That's clumsy. I think I found the perfect one too. Well, not two, but one. Okay. How's this one? Look at the spiral in the middle. Look at the spiral, like right dead.
Wow. Love it.
So we'll have to find the perfect position for it, and then we'll have to make sure that it doesn't move. So what I did before, kind of popped it in here and then pulled it through a little bit.
Trevor, the artist that you just made mention of from Baltimore,
Yeah.
is his name John Schwegel? Would you recognize it if I
I'm
said
such
it?
a bad, I have to admit, I stopped following him because
Okay.
I think he, honestly, I mean, I just have to tell you, I mean, I think he got drunk one night and then he said things on social media that I was like really offended by. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't, I mean, I like you, I like your style, but I can't handle that.
Yeah.
So I kind of canceled him myself, but that's just because it's my own life. I mean, he's still out crushing it.
Yeah.
Like I found like with social media and this, I don't know if you guys have found this, whether you have it or not. It's like there's so many vibes out there. There's so much energy. People have so much energy, and it's like the best time ever because you can access people that you'd never be able to access otherwise. But there's also a lot of people that you don't want to, associate with, and it's always been that way. There's always been people you didn't want to be with in the world. You just have to like be really protective of your time, be really protective of your of your feelings, and just keep it real. That's my
Yeah. And what you said, what you put out there.
Yeah, I mean, you put out whatever you want. It's just you can choose whether you want to hear what other people say too. Okay, I think this is gonna work. I need a little bit of why is this book under here? Sorry, I'm just gonna remove this whole book and we'll get even more stable. I'm gonna keep this my reference close by, mainly because I think I did a good job, and if I forget anything, I'll look to it. Okay, so let me zoom out a little bit. So the shadow. Sweet. Now I can rotate this box just to see if it gets any more or less beautiful. How's that one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I like so what I was looking at, I wasn't looking at anything on the outside. The thing I was looking for was this spiral. I think if we
That's stunning.
with that spiral, and then we'll watch how it kind of unfolds. I want to maybe dim my light a little bit so I can get a little bit more contrast. And then if you guys have a smudger, like a blending stump, you're almost definitely going to need the blending stump. The other advantage that we have is that we're working on, hopefully you're working on white paper. The white paper, we're gonna have like less work to do, if that makes sense, with the white paper, because the flower's white. So all we need to do is, do the tones. Does it look different than earlier today, Stace?
The center is definitely different. Yeah.
Yeah, but what about the lights in the dark?
And it's more rounded, but I think that the lights and the darks read well. I think they're good
I think
as
did
they were earlier.
as good as it was before.
Yeah.
All right, I hope so. So this is my battle. I'm battling with the shadow from this thing up here. I don't want that to throw a shadow on my flower, but then I also don't want the tripod in my way. Okay, and then I have to have enough real estate. Oh, that's what I can do. Great. All right, yes. The iPad was moved. Oh, Stace, I did my first Peloton ride.
How was it?
I went. They have a video that goes to New Zealand. So
Why?
they have like a video thing, and so I went to New Zealand, and it was pretty.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how cool it is, but
That's so cool.
I move this.
So was it as enjoyable as you had hoped it would be?
I think it's going to be enough for my days that I don't go to the gym, which is all I need it for.
Perfect.
Yeah. I don't know if it could be I don't think it could be like a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right.
What was that?
This is me being, I think I got it finally positioned properly. And then I actually kind of like the shadow up here now because it makes that end pop out a little bit more. But I'm also a little scared because it's going to be a lot, and hopefully it does turn out well. I think it's going to turn out well. Okay, so the way that I did it this morning, and I think it's going to work. I think what I'm talking about is going to apply to our drawing right now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I might make my drawing a little bit smaller. So if you look at it, my drawing, my rose is like, significantly smaller. And in order for this to work, I have to work off the screen as well, which I think is kind of interesting. I can't, I'm not even I mean, this is right in front of my face, but I can't look at it because, we have to be working from the same orientation, like the same angle, which is cool. What I did is I essentially broke the entire flower down into groupings of petals, and I'm kind of decoding it right now. So if I show you this one, I had there was a very center. There's like a very center of the bud. It was actually kind of tight in here. Then the side of the bud, I called it the side, and then first boomerang, second boomerang. See how it looks like a boomerang right there? I might use some weird terminology. And then for this one, I broke it down in two groups of 3, and then I called it rogue. So this one was the first group. So I called this A, B, and C. And I related the petals to the Sydney Opera House in Sydney, Australia. Those conical domes, which there had to have been some kind of like flower petal association with that. And some people see shells. I don't know. I actually like the piece, and some of it was based off of sound waves and that type of thing. So anyway, so I had 1, 2, 3, or excuse me, this one was A, B, and C. And then on the way down, we had 1, 2, 3. So I had the intercenter, which was spiral. Then I did the side of the bud, boomerang 1, boomerang 2. So that was like the first 1, 2, 3. Then I had 1, 2, 3 here, and then I had, God, I keep saying it wrong. I had A, B, C at the top, and then 1, 2, 3 at the bottom. And then I called this one on the side, I called this one R for rogue. So I called this one rogue because it didn't seem to fit with anything. This bud is at an earlier stage of development, I think, than the one we're looking at here. But I think it's going to be kind of interesting to figure out these clusters. I think there's going to be, instead of like just the 1, 2, 3 ABC and a singular rogue, I think there's going to be a one that's on the outside. I think there's going to be a couple more petals or more groupings that are on the extreme outside. So I think if we start from the middle, and then build these groupings of petals as they go out. Some of them are going to be triangular, some of them are going to be trapezoidal, and once we have, it was kind of like I'm not gonna go into that, but like we did a Van Gogh, remember we did some Van Gogh drawings, and he would make lots of marks, like lots of hatch marks. And it was complex when you thought about each hash mark individually, but then you realize that he did the hash marks in groupings of like 3 or 4. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4. So even though there was, 4 individual ones, he marked them down in that group. So it was almost like, if you get 10 groups of 4, that's only 10 things instead of 40 things, individually. So you can group things, and I think that's the secret to this flower. And the way we're going to attack it is to kind of establish this first spiral. Like it looks like a note from like a some kind of a musical note where it spirals. See it? And then there's going to be a second one almost immediately after that, then a third one, and then a fourth one. And that is the thing that takes up this center bud. And then that center bud is kind of being almost like held in like a bowl with 2 smaller petals that function like a U. There's like a U here and a U here. That might be enough for us to bite off, to chew right now. There's you could, I mean, and then there's like 3 trapezoidal ones off of that on this side, and then there's like 1, 2, 3 triangular ones on the bottom. So that's kind of fun. So we have a grouping of trapezoidals, we've got a grouping of triangles, and then, oh my God, then I don't know. And then we'll have to figure out what's going on. This looks almost like a divine staircase. Look at this, like a triangular step here, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We'll see. Oh my gosh, Stacy, you've been sending me some photos, babe.
I have. I think that they're great.
They are great. Okay, good. Sorry, I just kept getting buzzed on my thing. Okay, sorry. No distractions. All right, first things first, let's try this bud. So I'm going to start from the middle, and I'm going to make a small little spiral. So I'm going to start with a circle, and that is right here. And I don't even know if it is in fact a circle, but I'm going to call it that. And then I'm going to do a spiral this way. Oh man, it's already looking big. That's all right. It's all right. Oh, by the way, the ladies, I don't know if Stacy, did you send me pictures of the ladies' work from this morning?
Yes, that's what I thought you were just referring to. I did.
Yeah, you sent a bunch. I haven't seen them. I'll look for them when we need a break. But
Yeah.
the reason I bring it up is, ladies and gentlemen, you can make this super small. One of the ladies made it like huge. She had like a big pad of 18 by 24 inch paper, and so you can make it like, one woman made it almost like a postage stamp, but really wasn't a postage stamp. It was probably like 3 inches by 3 inches. So work at the scale that you feel comfortable. And this first, oh my God, I bumped it. God, I'm so reckless. This first, this little, the bud, what I'm calling this like spiral center of the bud that hasn't actually fanned out yet. It's still closed. It's still wrapped in itself, still kind of holding itself. The petals haven't had a chance to open up yet. You know, the size of that, you know, will probably, you know, set the dominoes to see how big the rest of the piece is going to be. Okay, so 1 spiral, 2 spirals, and the okay, 2 spirals, 3 spirals. This is like not quite a horizontal, but we're doing the inside of the leaf and the outside of the leaf. And I keep saying leaf, but I mean petal. And then this petal seems like it's wrapping or almost to the middle, and it's flapping out like a sailboat, like or a knife or a spoke. So these are the 4 petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, that are spiraling out. And then in order to get the bottom of the bud, we've got to see the side plane. And that is the side here. We haven't gotten to the bowl just yet, but it's coming. I really hope I don't make my thing too big. So I'm calling this the bowl, and it's a smiley face. It's one of the brightest petals in the entire design, and it starts above the 3rd petal, and then we're gonna wrap almost like waves up to the other side. And I am like, this is the way Stacy started her picture this morning. And it's not necessarily the way I started it this morning, but I'm starting it this way because I know that it works. All right, so that's the bottom, that's the bowl of the rose, mostly light, it basically almost entirely light. So all of the lines that we use to draw on the outside of that petal, that's going to be blended into the area around it. So like just a quick little teaser, like this line, in order for it to become an edge, you know, and an edge is when one object comes up into contact with another object. And, you know, a line is there to separate one object from another. Edges are formed when they get blended together. And when I say blended together, I almost mean blended apart. So the dark of that line that I used to define the bowl, that gets blended into the side of the bud. And this is what a lot of this experience is going to be. It's going to be blending, you know, drawing a line which represents the edge of the petal, and then, you know, deciding, okay, well, what's darker, the petal or the background? And then you blend the line into the proper zone. So interesting. And sometimes the petal can be dark in one area and light in another area. It's wild, like, and how quickly that can actually change. So I have found that the
Hello, Tata.
bottom of oh, excuse me, sorry, Stace, I have to mute you. Maybe not. When I started with the first couple petals, it's like the easy answers is what I want to go for first until I get a hold of it. Like I can't wrap my head around, there's so many decisions that we're gonna have to make, you know, like even like the first 2 petals that we made. I mean, I guess the second petal is dark. You know, at least most of it is dark. Who knows? Where the petals get larger on the outside, life becomes so much easier. So I think in the first round, I didn't even do the middle. I just started kind of from outside the bud. And I think that's what we should do here. I mean, I've indicated a little something, you know, but some lights and some darks, basically the side of the bud. But we don't want to do too much because it's so small and we just need to get more line work. I just wanted to like anticipate where this is, you know, gonna go. Okay, so the bowl has a friend, and they're like, you know, squinched up right next to one another in the top corner. And then we'll continually wrap around.
Sorry. Sorry.
So I got 1 bowl, 2 bowls. Okay, so in the spirit of the known and the unknown, I always like to go from the known into the unknown, and so you don't get overwhelmed by all the things that you don't know. So that was a mouthful. We did these two petals, which are the what I'm calling the bowl, and then the next petal, the petal that the second bowl touches, is this trapezoidal petal, which is basically the mainstay of this next group. So this is the next petal. It's this one right here. And that one is flanked by two trapezoids. So we've got a crew of trapezoid petals. And so if I go halfway down the second bowl and I cut around, I get 1, 2, 3, and that third one passes behind the last of the bud. And while we're at it, let's get his buddies, his trapezoid friends. So there's one trapezoid, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3. Now we don't get to close off that third trapezoid, which that's all right. We need to like, all these petals are going to be like interlocking. It's almost like if you lay out a deck of cards, and you like spread them all out. We just have to find out which one's on top of the other, which is on top of the other, on top of the other. But having, I'm going to call this T1. I'm going to call the one on the side T2, and this one will be T3. The reason I call them T is because of the trapezoid. Oh, that's not going to be helpful because we're into a triangle. God, it's okay. All right, the bowl, the two lines that we represented the bowl. I'm claiming that they're like the petal that touches him is going to be this guy, and I'm claiming that these are triangles. So there's one triangle, two triangles, three triangles. They're stacked to get to the outside. Now, if you notice, they're kind of like arrowheads in the way that arrowheads are triangular, but they also have an underside. So where's my scrap sheet? So this is what it's going to look like. Yes, the petals are triangles, 1, 2, and I think 3. So that's how they're going to go. But in the corners, they have kind of like the arrowhead notches. So there's this one arrowhead notch, and this is the last one. So there's 1, 2, 3 triangles, and there'll be triangular arrowheads. All right, so let me figure that out. So we did triangle 1. And that's the triangle that's like nearest the bowl. I made it convex, but it's got to be. I made it concave, but it's got to be convex. 1, 2, with an arrowhead bottom, and then 3. Oh, you got this one. Look at this bad boy. So there's 4 of them. Keep it straight in your head, people. You can do this. All right, so what should I call? I'm going to literally make a triangle. Oh no, I'll call them A for arrowhead. Arrowhead 1. Really close to that, adjacent, arrowhead 2. Then the one that I hadn't seen, which is really just a triangle, I'm going to call arrowhead 4, A4. And then the biggest one, which I probably should have celebrated even more, with its kind of like nifty little accented tip, I'll call that A5, or excuse me, A4. The little triangle one was A3. And that was truly 3 sides. All the rest of them are arrowheads. A4. Oh man, this is rad. This is rad. All
I have
right.
to remind myself to stop. Like, if I want to get any art done, I have to not just watch you. It's really fascinating to watch the rows develop. And I mean, for instance, when you did the bud
Mhm.
and you just did the smudging, you use the tortillon, right?
I did.
Yeah, that it just made the bud pop and you saw the depth of you saw the bud coming up and out of the center of the petals.
That's what value does. It's amazing. Lights and darks make it,
Yeah.
give it dimension. Now you have to understand that it's a cone, and we'll get into that, but even without fully understanding the form, you can get a lot of dimension just through putting in the proper lights and darks. Okay, so one of my favorite artists from the 90s was LL Cool J. And I don't know what LL stood for, actually.
Really?
I wasn't that big of a fan. Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know, but I would never have guessed that.
Okay, well, the reason I bring up LL is that in this corner, and I'm going to move the paper over. I'm going to call it lower left. So we have basically two petals in this lower left, and they're kind of interesting. Well, in a couple different ways. One, you could almost argue that T1, T2, T3, you could almost argue that the first one in this lower left is in fact T4, because if you see how it comes out, and then it comes across, and then it comes under, and it kind of links up the T's all the way, it links the T's and the A's. So I might, just for our purposes, just call it T4. And then this last one, this rogue one that happens out here, way out here, I'll call that one LL, because that's lower left. And if you think about the our process right here, there's not that much more to go. We've basically solidified the center and basically all the way this lower left hand side. I would argue that it's almost half done. Okay, so we started from the center and we decided to go to the left. We resolved that. Then we went down and to the right, resolved that. The bud touches every single grouping of petals. So with getting our orientation going, we've got T2, which is this one right here. That one is in existence. I could argue that it might be a little bit small. That's okay. A3 is down here. A3 is this guy right here. The biggest petal so far is the one that we're about to make. And the one that we're about to make is gonna really be the kind of the anchor of everything that's in this top right side. And I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm gonna give it not a trapezoid, not a triangle, but I'm gonna give it this shape, which what shape would you call that? It's almost like a tongue. I mean, it's weird. It's how you would make a tongue, and I'm just going to draw it so that you know what I'm talking about, so I don't sound crazy. But I'm going to come up from the side of A2. And I'm going to come up from the middle of T2, and then it's going to combine. We know that there's the middle on either side, so that's this guy. We've got a triangle on the top left. We've got a triangle on the top right. We've got a triangle linking up these two. And then we've got this big trapezoid out here. 1, 2, 3. A3, A1, A2, and A4. I probably shouldn't have. I probably, how I called it A4. I got it wrong. I'm gonna rename these because I didn't realize that this triangle was actually it's the beginning of its own set. You can see this like miniature mountain range, small mountain, large mountain, larger mountain. So I'm just gonna call this A3 over here, and then call this MM, and then we've got the next mountain. This is a mountain seen from the side, of course. M1, and then another triangle. M3, M2, M2, and M3. We've got all our players. The only other player I'm thinking of is like, do you see another? Is that a wrinkle or is that another petal? I think it's a wrinkle. Yeah, it's a wrinkle. I'm not going to worry about that. So what I call this, the tongue. There's too many T's.
Mhm.
I'll call it the big one. And then BR, big on the right. BL, big on the left. And then BC, big center. BC. Now I'm thinking, I wonder if I should put white paper in here so you can see the shadows better. Yeah. How did I mess that up?
I think you forgot the big petal on the top left.
Oh, I did. And that's the best one because it makes like a 90-degree angle. I mean, it is almost 90 degrees. So it does hit T3. That's correct. And then it comes and it will hit the bottom. I didn't even label that one. Thank you so much. And it did, you could tell like something was awkward about it. In my adult class, one of the things that really became clear is that the petals that are on the outside, they've done the most amount of work. So underneath the rose, okay, so here's the rose. When it was truly a bud, these green, it's like a green star. I guess there's 5. Let me see if I can hold these down. Okay. Do you see the green star? That green star wrapped up the outside of all the petals, and it is really it's really thick, it's really dense, and it's strong, so it can handle cold weather. It's basically the jacket. Let me see if I can go like this. You can actually see how they spread out there. It's actually not that different than a tomato, to be honest with you. So that was I guess it was was it a berry? No.
Oh, I don't know.
No,
Did
I
you
don't
say, was it a berry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it wasn't. It just grew a bud. So anyway, this was the first round. Now the second round of exposed petals are the the ones that are closest to the outside. So you can tell actually on the edges of these that they're starting to wither a little bit, and then they're starting to turn yellow, and like they're kind of loosened. And look at the inside of it. The inside of it is like kind of rough. They're just aged and they're dying. So when you get roses, a lot of times people will just pull off a couple of the outside petals because their time is up. I mean, they were used, and the petals on the inside are fresher
I do that.
and more beautiful. So in theory, the petals that are on the inside now, you know, the closer you get to the inside, the more insulated, the more protected, and the less exposed to the elements they've been, and they will be, you know, softer and gentler. And like the reason I bring that up is because if you look at how some of the shading and the texture happens, you can actually use graphite pencil in a way that you can make, you even add little dots. Like as we shade each one of these petals, it's we've created like a coloring book. Paint by number is like the best and the worst invention of all time. It's the best invention is in that it takes the person conceptually all the way through the process of executing a painting. You start with a canvas, you put the lines down, then you choose the right color for the right shape, you paint it in, you paint the entire thing, you know, and then, you know, in your own painting, you can handle edges, you can blur edges, you can add texture, you can paint on top. Conceptually, painting is not any different than paint by number. The problem with buying paint by number in the art store or in Michael's or whatever is that they give you the lines, which takes away the whole drawing component. Developing the lines is one of the most characteristic aspects of art that gives you your identity as an art maker. So like the drawing is like the fun part. And so then they like remove that from you. And then, you know, then they tell you what color goes in what place, and they give
Yeah.
you, and they give you the color. The like half of the fun of painting is like getting to mix the colors, and even if it's like frustrating and hard, like you still get to mix the type of green that you want. It could be a light green, it could be a blue green, it could be a like a tinted, you know, green, it could be a dark green, whatever. Like you get to choose the colors, and then you get to paint them on there. So when you paint your own paintings, when you have your own paint, like oil paint, you can choose to mix medium into it to make it really thin. You can not mix any medium into it, and you can add a lot of paint, and you can paint that shape really thick. So like you have the choice of painting thin or thick. In the art store, they give you those little dinky cups of paint, and like you can only paint like with that little bit of paint. So you're being super conservative. So like you don't get to choose you know, how thick or how thin the paint is. So you don't get to do the drawing, you don't get to do the color mixing, you don't get to determine how thick or thin you paint it. All you do is like the mechanics of applying the paint, which is also fun, but they give you one horrible brush that's made out of like the worst plastic you've ever seen in your entire life. And like you think that like you're doing something wrong because you can't fill in the shapes properly because it's not the right brush. So they give you everything, which is they give you all the stuff that they shouldn't give you because you're the artist, you make those determinations. And then all the things that they do actually offer you are like inadequate. So understanding art through the idea of the paint by number is very, very helpful in that if you just imagine each painting is you creating your own paint by number, you're going to be good. Like you're in business. Buying it from the store, less helpful. God, it's so pretty. Look how gorgeous that is. Gosh. What are my I had, what did I call it in my class today? I called it like a domestic win. I was like, because my fiance kind of gets mad because I spend a lot of money on flowers because I love them, but she like loves this bouquet of white roses.
Right.
She goes,
Yeah.
you can always buy white roses whenever you want. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So paint by number. I mean, what time did this class start? 4:15? We did no warm up whatsoever. And we just kind of jumped right into it. And I guess I was yapping a little bit in the beginning, but
Yeah, 4:15.
when you consider we sketched out all of the petals that need to be, you know, toned, as it were, it's really not that long. I mean, they're well organized. They're kind of in the right place. When I come in and I start shading, I can add more details. Like I'm just noticing a couple things here. There's like a tip. Look at this little tip right here. That is beautiful. And then right on the other side of that, there's another tip, like right out from there. So I can make that tip. You know, so what I'm saying is that like just because you made these drawings, think about it like essay writing. this is just the first, this is essentially the first draft. And then we'll go back in and, refine. The light's not going to change. So we have a certain length of time to sketch. And it's really a matter of what I was saying before is like we needed lines to separate the edges to separate the different petals. We needed a way to delineate one petal from another petal and the general shape of it. Now, those lines are going to be translated into edges. And this is the kind of thing where if it were me, and I probably will do it this way, I will start kind of from the same order, it's kind of start from the bowl and then like maybe go up to the T's or like down into A's, like kind of do it in groupings. But just to get a feel, for what I'm talking about, maybe we can jump around for a second here. And so what I'm talking about edges is like, imagine I'm going up here to the tongue, my tongue shape. The tongue is a light lip up against BR, the pedal behind it. So this line, I'm going to blend that line into the shadow that's behind it. And so by blurring this line, even though I use the line to delineate the edge of the B, I'm actually making that pigment part of the pedal that's behind it. And you'd be surprised, guys, how much pigment there actually is on the drawing right now. Like I'm using this Bic pencil, and I love Bic because the eraser is calibrated for the type of graphite concoction that they made. It blends really nicely, but it kind of, there's kind of a lot, like it's a soft lead. So all of my petals are labeled. So like once I like start working on one, you go around the entire border and you think to yourself, okay, is this line part of the petal, or is it, actually part of the petal that's behind it? Or is there no line to speak of? So that's like the challenge. It is a line going all the way in. Now the top line, I know that there's a separation, but the way that it's lit, it's like the line is so faint. So there I go. I'm gonna keep the line there, but I'm gonna lighten the line. So it's a very faint separation. The one behind it, there's the bottom of the line in the bottom that gets blended. And then the top of that, what I call it BC. So it's big central. That one gets faded into the corner of the box. Now I can't remove the box, but I did do this. This is what I was going to do, and then I got distracted. If I go like that, the white, I think the shadow is going to be super beautiful on the bottom. It is beautiful. It's a big, cool shadow. When I say cool, meaning it's either like a dark blue, a blue gray, or even a magenta, a violet. And that's because the light source is warm. It's this halogen that's coming up here. It's a warm bulb. It makes everything warm, except when it goes away, meaning the shadow, the light can't get to certain things, it becomes cool. The daylight is generally a cool light, and so the shadows become warm. These fake lights, the artificial lights from up above, are very, very warm for the most part.
Trevor,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things, if I could comment, that you have, I'm not sure if you mentioned today, because I've been in and out of the room, that I think applies to the flower so much for me, is that when I'm drawing any line, whether it be straight or curve or a combination thereof, to think this is a petal, because I'm finding that if I don't, it's not reading as well. And maybe you can explain that. I'm sure you can explain that better than I, but it's making a huge difference for me in this drawing.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying. Man, this better have been a good decision. Get these back. Is that back in place? Pretty much.
I'm not following that one. I'm following this morning's.
Right. How about the other? How about the other party people? Does that look like it's in pretty good shape? Like things are in the right spot. Oh yeah, I did it. Okay, so what I was trying to go for was our ability to see the shadow shape. So this casts shadow on the ground over here. It becomes its own entity.
Oh, that's so much nicer
Is it?
with the white strip. Yeah.
Okay. I mean I think so too. I wish I had thought of that before. Oh man, every time I breathe, it's gonna knock this thing off. But I'll try not to.
Can you tape it? Like put tape off the screen or not?
No, I can. So you guys, I went to Sam's Club and I bought. You can't buy just like one roll of tape. So I bought like 12 rolls of double-sided tape.
Oh my gosh.
So Stacy,
So you're swimming in tape.
so you're saying like, can I tape it? Oh, I can tape it. Can I kick it? Can I kick it? So my art teacher, what he would tell me, and I hate to bring him up because I wish that I was right more often than he is, but he's always right. Oh god. Oh god.
Okay.
Did it get moved? Oh gosh, okay. I really hope that was worth it, y'all. So when you're dealing with it's completely different. I don't know what I can do now. There, we're back. Oh, thank goodness. That was also very stressful. All right, we're back to the original position, and now it's got some weird section of tape everywhere. But it fits on. That part we might have to edit out when we get to video. Or else people are like, I didn't pay $10 to watch you cut out pieces of paper. All right, here we go. I'm gonna start from the middle and go out, and I'm gonna just talk about what I'm thinking. So we have there's gonna be two types of shadows, which is really nice. There's a yeah, we'll keep it two for the moment. The two types of shadows are when the object turns into a shadow. The object turns away, and the one that I'm looking at is T1 right here. T1, the left side of T1, that far side edge, it just the petal rolls and it turns into shadow. So nothing is blocking it other than the fact that it turns away. Now, if you follow the T1 all the way, follow it down, there's a piece, the bowl, the second bowl, the one that has that little beautiful tip, that petal is throwing a shadow or casting a shadow, if you will, onto T1. And then if you look at T1, the bowl, the first bowl is throwing a shadow on the second bowl. And so when you start to get shadow shapes, the most obvious cast shadow in this entire piece is the shadow that the rose is throwing onto the paper. And the reason I took it off the box and put all this paper down in that kind of weird, ridiculous display that you may not have understood why I was even doing it in the first place is the petals are throwing, the light is hitting the shadow, the light is hitting the flower in a really beautiful way, and the flower is preventing the light from hitting the tabletop or the paper top. And where that light is prevented, where you get this amazing blue, blue-gray, maybe even a magenta gray, and you wind up learning a lot about the edge. I mean, look at, there's this little triangle that happens here. There's this little triangle that happens here. I mean, so this triangle is from M3. This triangle is from M2. And then this triangle down here is from A3. So you have shadow representation from each one of these established petals. So the shadow just doesn't come from nowhere. Nothing comes from nowhere. Everything comes from something. And that's one of these kind of universal spiritual principles that you can march everything back to the one thing. Anyway, so that is a beautiful cast shadow, and that is a large cast shadow, meaning it's the whole of the subject throwing its shadow onto the backdrop. Now that being said, there's miniature versions of this happening, and I'm looking at A3 right here. So A3 is the lowest petal, so it's this petal right here, and A1 and A2 throw their cast shadows, I should say, in this little jagged format right onto that petal. So the half of A3 is in shadow, but not because it's turning away from the light source. It's because A1 and A2 are in front of it. So I think what Stacy was alluding to earlier was that whenever you make a mark, whether it's a tone or an edge, it's good to name it in your head with your left brain. So when you only have petals. So petals are the theme. The variation is where they're positioned, whether they're on the inside of the bud or on the outside of the bud. The variation is whether they're trapezoidal or triangular, from our perspective. And then the third variation is where are they light and where are they dark? So so that when you have theme and variation, the theme is nice is because it limits, all you have to draw today are petals. I mean, and that seems like it's that like an oversimplification, but in a way it is an oversimplification. But the theme is just petals, and not only the theme is petals, but the theme is flowers, and that seems to be anyway. So within each flower you have petals, and then within each petal you have a variety of sizes, and you have a variety of lights and darks. The petals are arranged one on top of the other on top of the other, and it's the way that the lights and the darks happen that help describe which is in front and which is in bottom. To go back to the very beginning, to explain how to identify the shadow side with T1 here, there's a little bit of shadow that's on the inside of the tongue period. There's the inside of the far side of that one. So there are shadows, again, traditional shadows, just the shadows that exist within the form. And then that T1 that I blended out the scribe, T1 comes to a little point here, and I notice the point because it's throwing a shadow on T3. So within that whole area, this little one line edge of T1, I have T1 turning into a shadow, and then I also have T1 throwing its shadow onto T3. So then you ask yourself, well, they're both in shadow. Which one is going to be, which one's going to be light, which one's going to be dark? And you just have to assess it. And it looks as though T1 in that shadow side is in fact darker. And why is the cast shadow lighter? There could be reflected light coming in, diffused in there. That's probably what it is. The probably is like, light is bouncing around the room and it's going into that shadow. I wonder if that happens again. So if I look at T1 that I just shaded there, excuse me, T2 with the cast shadow, the edge of that T2 is going to, or T3 rather, is going to go into shadow. And then it's going to throw its shadow onto T4. So when I'm bopping around so that I can then see, and then lower left got bigger because I moved it. And I think it's even better. I think that's even probably better for the composition. What I was saying is that me bopping around, I'm telling myself, okay, I've got a handle on the edges, creating edges. I have lines. Everyone's made lines. The thing is like, how am I going to make edges? Well, you make edges by determining whether the line belongs to the petal on the top or the petal on the bottom. Then, once you feel like there's only so many things to know how to do, meaning there's a cast shadow and then there's the shadow side. Once you know that, then you can like come up with like almost like a workman style mentality. So you can like kind of start from the beginning and just spiral your way out so that when you start from the center and move out, there'll be more unity. I guess I'll have to zoom out a little bit. I'm a big proponent of doing easy answers first. And I think I'm going to complete my cast shadow on the ground. Just because it is a flat plane. Oh, and the other thing is, once you when you're working on each one of the petals that have been like noted, once you've addressed it and you've solved it, erase the line. And then by the and my drawing from this morning had all of those notations on it, like 100%. And then I just removed them. It's a little bit sad because you get attached to them.
Yeah, I really like my the drawing that I made far more than where I've brought it to with the color. And
did
part
look-
of that is because I was thinking far less about it and I'm overthinking it now.
Well, don't do that, Stace.
Well, okay. Alrighty then.
I have never. Have you guys
Done
ever,
that?
you guys ever go to Bertucci's? pizza place?
Bertucci's.
Have you ever been there, Stace?
I think I have. Yeah.
They have this.
Where is it located?
They give you pizza dough to like play with.
Oh, no, I have
It's
not
over
been there.
by. It's on York Road near, like Ridgely Road.
No, but I've been to a place in Florida where they do that. Which is pretty neat.
I'm so hungry right now.
I think I've been to a different Bertucci's before,
Oh yeah, it's definitely a chain.
and now I'm very hungry.
Doesn't Bertucci sound so good right now?
Yeah, now I just want pizza.
It's amazing with this setup. It really does look like a this pedal up at the top, the one that I had forgot before. Look at its glorious little tip, this little light tip.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I can see that.
It almost feels like it's part of the shadow, but it's not. Because the whole pedal, I mean, in terms of ratios, the pedals on the top right, the ratio of light to dark, it's going to be, I'd say 80-90% light. And like the soft, the darks will be super soft. On the bottom left, we're looking like almost 50-50. The ones at the very edges, the very top and this one on the very bottom, it's inverted. So we're talking 90% dark, 2% dark, and then 4 or 5% that light. It's just an interesting. It's just interesting to like think about the pedals in terms of their ratio. Now I'm completely going against what I was saying I should do, which is start on the inside and move out. And for some reason, I decided to work from the outside and move in. And I'm not going to apologize for it because there's so many different ways. For some reason, my intuition was telling me to do that, or I was just being, I just did it, and I'm dealing with it. At the end, if I'm like,
Does it,
if
it
at
doesn't,
the end, if
it
at the
doesn't-
end I'm like, I should have done it the other way, then so be it. What were we gonna say, Stace? Sorry.
you answered it. Thank you.
But see, the thing is, I don't think so. Like, I think if you address all of the pedals in a general way, that the range is not
Mhm.
wide enough. The range is not wide enough that it won't have unity. It'll still have unity. But here I go, back to the beginning.
Are you working with a mechanical pencil, Trevor?
I am.
Yeah.
Bowl
Finding that
number 2 really throws a nice and interesting shadow on A3. So bowl 1 throws its shadow onto bowl 2, and then bowl 2 throws its shadow onto A1. Also, I want to. When you're learning how to draw, it's really nice to have the image stay fixed and not move. It's ideal to work from life, but what I also want you to know is that little subtle shifts can actually work in your favor. So instead of trying to copy the flower as as if it's a photograph, think about it like a GIF. Like GIFs, they're like short, like 3-second videos or whatever, and they're low quality. So imagine you're working off of like 10 frames, and somebody's like, it's like me going like this, like some weird GIF. I don't know what it is, but like imagine if you were to make a GIF of this flower, and I don't want to move it now, but like you could draw a little, draw the A's down here a little bit to the right, draw the B's a little bit up, higher, and then did the T's a little bit to one side. So just because the painting or the subject shifts doesn't mean that the painting's over or it's wrong. You're actually, it's almost like a composite of a lot of different, it's a composite image of, really beautiful views. So it'll actually be more, the viewer, as the viewer moves around the drawing of the rose, if things have shifted a little bit, it will make it feel like it's more alive. I mean, like even when if I shift, even if the flowers don't move as I'm looking at the bouquet, if I move, my orientation shifts ever so slightly. Like I lean back, I lean forward, I take a deep breath in, I go up, I breathe out, I go back down. So
Mhm.
naturally speaking, the shift happens when you're drawing anyway. Now we're at a fixed, we're in a Zoom situation. So there's no way of you having the shift. Like if I shift to the left, it's the same orientation as I shift to the right. I'm looking at the same screen. The screen doesn't move. But I could, if it was like a different situation, I could move this a little bit this way. Oh yeah. Look at that view. So I'm looking like directly into the hole of the blossom. And then I can move it back over here. So this is how this would move. And if I was teaching another class, or even if I would have thought of it, we could have drawn one rose, but do it from like 25 minutes here, 25 minutes on this side, and it would be probably a slightly more dynamic picture. Is that back to being straight? Yeah. Super straight. Oh, God. I had to mix my coffees today. I don't know why people don't do that. Take like a little bit of this blend and mix it with a little bit of that blend. Do they sell coffee blends? I guess they do sell coffee blends. They sell wine blends too. I think you can't go wrong with a wine blend. I'm gonna leave this here just to make everybody happy. Oh my gosh, make like it's like a magic trick. Make this disappear. I guess that's not that good. Where does it look nice? Up here? Looks kind of nice there. So I know we spent the entire class on this one thing, but I've been really amped at the result of what the adults did. So sometimes, you know how I go. Sometimes I try to make the lessons interesting. I probably should have started with a theme and variation. Stace, you should have told me. I should have started with the pufferfish. I promise we'll do the pufferfish next week. And I also did a deep dive into Scooby-Doo. Did I mention that last week? Did you know that the original concept for Scooby-Doo, Thelma, was a was like a man. It was like a short muscle man. I have to show this to you. It blew my mind. So all of you guys know what concept art is. And it's just a big trial runs. So the artist is like kind of working through ideas. Come on. Oh, it's way back. This was last week. So I found this old school concept drawing before, I think before Scooby-Doo was even in the picture. I think there was like a supernatural, I don't know what it was. Look, this is Jerry Eisenberg. He's the creator of a bunch of Hanna-Barbera characters and Scooby-Doo. And Shaggy's got a backwards hat on with a pointy nose. The guy, what's his name? Hold on, I have the here they are. This is like the final version. Shaggy, Fred, Daphne, Scooby, and Velma. That's the cast. That's what he settled on. And I think there's a color version in here. There's Scooby turning his head, looking for his snacks. Also pretty early. Scooby's huge. Look how huge he is. But before there was Scooby, there was a strange large-toothed werewolf. The werewolf was like Shaggy's friend. How bizarre is that? Okay, enough of that. What I told the class this morning, which is what I'm about to start doing, is as I'm refining the pedals, I'm trying to, if I can, if I have a choice between making a pedal bigger or smaller, error on making it, bigger and bolder. I think as a general rule of thumb, I found it like when I made, if I had the choice, it was better to be big. Now it might be so big that it's like out of place and awkward, but you don't want that. And I'm running through these ideas in my brain where I'm thinking, all right, well, is the background darker? Is the pedal darker? And how dark is dark? So I've got a nice little dark glow here, and my lines on the back end are not useful. So see how dark these, look at all the edges up here. The edges are so soft. Like the transition from pedal to paper is almost nothing. So it's part of my job is to add shadows. Another part of my job is to make sure that the lines are not too dark. And in a way, it's like, thank God for that. Thank goodness for this shadow over here. The shadow from the tripod. Makes that background stand out and makes that edge of the pedal stand out. Look at that, no separation in there between those two. Barely any line against this edge. And lightening a line is not easy. If you have a kneaded eraser, you can stamp it and the stamping will the line will remain and not distort. Eventually it'll all come up, but whenever you try to erase a line with these, with like a regular rubber eraser, the graphite blends and distorts and changes direction. Whereas the kneaded eraser, when it gets stamped, very effectively removes pigment without distorting the line. And when you're approaching another petal, maybe the first thing you do is erase the letter. And I made an initial triangle. That one really needed to be much pointier. And the next two, I think, are right on point. No pun intended. And I love how crisp these edges come during the overlap. So I do sing the praises of the, love this cast shadow here, delightful, just delightful. I do sing the praises of the Bic pencils, mainly because they're so inexpensive. They stay sharp and they blend nicely. Are there higher quality pencils? For sure. Would it serve you maybe to get a nicer pencil at some point? Yes. And if you can be disciplined about keeping the lead and everything, I mean, it is a big payoff. But for convenience and having the eraser really, really calibrated nicely to the pigment itself, it's hard to beat. So beautiful. And you just have to attempt to take pleasure in the gentle tones. And in the, I always try to break my consciousness down, like you can almost think you're in like you have multiple art personalities, almost lenses that, like with the way your brain functions. And, I'm like almost a different person when I'm drawing than when I'm shading. And I'm almost a different person when I'm making color choices. And in painting and in art, you can kind of, effectively separate them. So when I'm coming back in to make these corrections, it's almost like I'm correcting somebody else's work, which is a little liberating, because then it's like I'm not taking it personally. I don't feel like it's easy for me not to hold judgment on the art. I'm not judging its value as good or bad. I'm just like, assessing it, as if another person made the work, and I'm just adding to it. So it's like grading a friend's paper. It's like, yo, can you look at this and proofread it? You're like, okay, yeah. That's easy. I mean, some people love proofreading. They love auditing and editing. Other people, can't come up with original ideas for the life of them, but they can audit and edit beautifully. And, as an artist, you kind of take on all of those roles in your own work. So they really can exist almost like different, like you're wearing different hats of a small business, or even different personalities. I'm never trying to go too dark, because at the end, after everything's been addressed, after I've made my attempts at the shading every single petal, I'm going to go in and pop my darks and my lights And I'll pull out some of the lightest areas, and I'm going to lay in shadows in some of the darkest. Stacy, do I need to check that message? Oh, I think she had to go out with the dog.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Is it just a pick?
I
Oh,
was just saying, no, it was not a pick, but no need to check.
okay. In one of the exercises we had this morning, and this might be useful now, you can, if you have an area, you can lay in pigment. And say you have like a grid, a light grid, you know, a light checkerboard. You can tone the region that has that. And then you can draw with your pencil into it. So this curving, you can actually make these light marks on a dark ground. And then you can go back in and tweak them. You know, make dark in one corner more than the other, you know, something like that. And then keep blending. The project from this morning was like a wicker chair. But what I was thinking where I might be able to use that is along this back edge of the lower, like the LL and the shadow. I toned both of them simultaneously and then came in with my, you know, with my eraser and pulled out the edge softly. So also just to give a shout out, Fontaine Latour is basically the greatest flower painter, you know, maybe the last 2,000 years or something like that. And he was French, and I gotta look up his name. But if you like flowers and you like flower painting and flower arranging, he's really on a super high level. You know, well, I'm not saying the best of 2,000 years, but he's definitely top 10. You know, there's beautiful flower paintings in Japanese culture. Thinking about Hokusoi, and you know, a lot of the ancients did really, really beautiful floral designs. So, and then there were like the Dutch masters, which is like they're kind of like their own aesthetic, which is, you know, it's almost its own subcategory. It's not even, it's beyond flower painting. It's a whole, it's about still life. It's about, that was almost like a philosophy, but also beautiful flowers.
Can you repeat the French artist floral
Yeah,
painter's name?
I have to find out how to spell it. Fontaine Latour flower painting. Stacy, you remember the figure that was by the bathroom at Mitchell School? Let's see, Fontaine.
Yes, I do.
That was a student drawing that he made, that Fontaine Latour made. That I was lucky enough to pick up. So it's Henri, FANTIN LATOUR, Fontaine Latour. And it's hard for me to see flowers or flower arrangements. And this isn't even an arrangement. This is just like kind of a, you know, like a character study, a deep dive into one flower. And he would do that with paint, with entire bouquets. Let me see if I can find Fontaine Latour roses.
So while you're looking for that, I have to leave just a few minutes early. Can I ask for those who either have finished or haven't, if you'd like to show your work, I would love to take a couple of pictures to send to Mr. Twist.
I'll go first. I did 2 because I'm fast. I'm speedy. So at
Sure.
first I did this one, and then I was like, I'm not a I think I could do better. So I Googled a different rose because I had one in my
Okay,
mind.
hold on, hold on. Bring your,
I'm going
bring your
too
other
fast.
one back and hold that really,
This
really
one.
still. Okay, and freeze. Thank you. Let's do the next one.
And then I found I like this one a lot better.
Hold on.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So Julia. can
And
you
hold that a little further from the screen and freeze it. Beautiful,
Thank you.
okay,
beautiful.
could you show the other one now? I actually got it in a position where I could see. We might as well just do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like that one too, dude.
Yeah, I just like the second one better.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Messick, can we see yours?
And it's okay, even if it's not finished. I would love to see.
Yeah, Stacy just wants to get the
if
photos,
you'd
but
like
I
to
also
show.
want
Yeah,
to.
so actually mine is finished now.
Oh,
Well,
super.
I think so. I might add a little more, but this is what I got so far. I kind of softened up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kind of softened up the edges because when I think of a rose, I kind of think of a softer, more delicate.
yeah.
Totally. I might actually even steal that idea. Yeah, those spiral really nicely.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's lovely.
awesome, dude. Thank you so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
Let's see. I got Maya up
Those are
next. Can we see
beautiful.
yours, Maya? Are you alive?
Yes.
I see you, Maya. You've unmuted.
A
So
frozen.
hope we can see.
Wait, can you see her? Can you see her yet? Okay.
Now I can. Hi, Maya.
And then there was light.
Hi there. And I almost always ask if you can hold your picture a little further from your screen. Of course, now I'll probably ask for the opposite, but
I did a different flower, but
it's a flower. Oh, that's lovely.
It is
Can you
lovely.
hold it just a little away from the screen?
Oh, there it goes.
That's it. A little further and whoop, come on back and freeze it.
Stace,
Got it.
that reminds
Yeah,
me, the color reminds me of the way you started yours. Yeah, that's lovely. And
Oh,
the code, the leaves, I think really
yes.
add to it. The code of like the edges, you know, the little rippled edges. I might steal that. It's called it's called crowdsourcing. You know, everybody by these critiques, they're not about, you know, it's not about like what it is. It's about, you know, the way the subtle variations on which everybody creates that you can then use. You know, then you can use yourself. Stacy, can we see yours? I have you next on the line as we go down.
Oh, well, yeah, I stopped mine because yes, of course you can.
Let's just see it.
Sure. I'm pulling it up.
And then Estelle, you're next. After I look at Stacy's, but hers, Stacy, I think you're a video.
Oh. Thank you.
There you are.
Okay, so there, I like that part.
Move it, slide it a little to your right, I think. Oh, maybe it's your left.
I don't want to. No.
Yes. It's really pretty. Did you combine aspects of the one from this morning with the ones from this afternoon? Or not really?
I think that I inadvertently did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really pretty. I'm really proud of you for doing the colors.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Estelle, are you ready to, can we see what you got? Or the 5 pieces that you did? Are you there? Are you still
Yeah,
there?
she's
Are
there.
you still there? Oh, good.
Maybe not.
Needs to be some movement. And then Nico, you're next. If you would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing Estelle.
She might not be there, which is okay.
Okay, Nico, how you doing today?
Okay.
Hopefully no one fell asleep. Oh, there's Estelle.
Okay, hold that.
Replace.
Hold that really, really still and a little closer to your face.
My face.
Yeah. But now closer to the screen and freeze it.
Good.
That's a beautiful drawing.
Thank you.
That's such a beautiful.
Lovely.
Thanks.
drawing.
I
Yeah,
really like
those
your
sounds are
center
great.
bud.
All right, cool. That was great. These are blowing my mind. Replace pin for Estelle. I'm ready, Estelle.
Okay, Estelle.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I didn't end up drawing what you're drawing.
That's
and
okay.
I have a bunch of like character sketches that aren't finished. I did finish this one.
Whoa.
It's like a mini piece of fan art, sorta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Celestia Lunenburg from Danganronpa.
That's great. Were you and you worked on that today or completely?
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. Look at that detail. It looks so much better close up. It's like good from afar, and then it rewards you up close.
Yeah. Can
Well, I
you
feel
hold
it-
it a little
I feel
closer?
hypnotized.
I've got to get that detail under the eye, if you would, and freeze it. Thank you.
Did you do a lot more too?
Thank you.
Did you do a lot more or just that one?
I did a bunch of sketches, but they're all just sketches. So
All right. Kaya, how about you? Can we see yours? Replacing the pin.
I'm okay.
Yes. You're okay in that you're gonna get to show it.
See, I think I'm a pass.
Okay.
Please, pretty please.
I don't like it.
I know, but I mean, I'd like to see it.
I'm allergic.
Or maybe
All right, that was
you'd
it.
like
I
to send it
will-
to Mr. Twist
I
or
won't- I
not.
won't
That's
let
fine.
you. Milana, can you show yours? Let's see.
Oh, that's lovely. Can you freeze that?
Let me
Like,
replace.
just don't even move.
Nice.
Lovely. Lovely.
So cool.
Yeah, I like the markings that you made on the edges of the petals.
Yeah, the mark making was so good. Sebastian,
Mhm.
you're up. You're up, my homie.
So I didn't do too many roses. I was just trying to practice flowers in general.
Okay.
A lot of them came out horrible. This is one of the ones that was okay.
Not bad.
Great. Go ahead and
Bad.
hold that really, really still. Thank you. Thank you.
That's one heck of a stem that flower has.
I was just going to say that. I really, really was.
Yeah, is that any more? Can I see one of the ones that was like a total disaster? Oh, the
Oh,
lotus.
wow.
I love the lotus. What
Yeah.
about the lotus? Yes.
Really
smell it.
nice.
All right, any more? You should put a frog. You should put Pepe the Frog on there.
All the other ones are really bad.
Well, then I will not force you to reveal them. All right, y'all. Well, I hope it was worth it taking like this amount of time on like a singular object. I'll put the screen share back up there so I can work for the next couple minutes. But yeah, if you guys, that's what I meant to do. Do we have time to do that? No, we'll do it at the beginning of class next week. I want to get a little bit of feedback of some subjects that we can keep working on for the rest of the term. Not that I'm not, I mean, I always like to do the stuff that I'm into at the moment. So there's no guarantee that we'll, like draw the stuff that you're recommending, but I do, for the most part, need ideas to have content. I mean, I had to do the rose this week because the roses will be dead and gone by next week. So and the lesson went really well this morning. So I think overall it was cool. And I really do appreciate everybody using their own style and making their own artistic.
Yeah.
It's like, when I tell the younger kids, I'm like, you have to be, the rules of the school are that you can't intentionally hurt anybody's feelings. And that's definitely not a problem on Zoom. And the second one is that you have to be aware of your emotions and how they're affecting the people around you. And that also doesn't really have an impact on Zoom classes because everybody's like can't feel the vibe anyway. And then the third one is that you just have to remain, artistically independent, and that I choose lessons that are inspiring to me, and I hope that they become, they're inspiring to you. But when you have the urge and you have the inspiration to make your own, do it your own way, you have, like, I really value that when I have it. Inspiration doesn't come all the time, but like when inspiration does come, it has to find you working. And oftentimes when you're in class, you're working and you get hit with inspiration. And by maintaining that level of independence from me and from and making your own art, making your own art moves, and being comfortable with making your own art moves, it's almost like I'm training you to be working, receiving information through inspiration, and then going for it. And that's the most important thing, I think, if I could teach anything. I mean, obviously fundamentals matter and technique matters, but you got to have technique and you got to have inspiration. So when you get the inspiration, act on it, please. And with
I
that,
have
I
to say
will-
good night to all.
it's all right. Class just
Thank
got
you
over.
so much. Mr. Twist, thank you so much. I
You're
have to
welcome.
run,
Okay.
but
Yeah,
have a
send me
great
those
week,
pics.
everyone.
And I will,
Pardon?
Stace, I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, and if you'll please, I would love to see yours finished. That would make my night.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm gonna
thank
stop the
you.
share, and I pinned Maya because it looked like she had a cute animal.
Aw,
Is that your doggy? Or do you live with a fox? It looks like a fox. Oh, there's the dog. Okay. So cute. All right, everybody. Have a great week. I'll miss you.
Thank you,
Ciao.
Dad.
You're welcome.